Previously on Alan Wake, I wrote a horror story that has come true. Thomas Zane did the same in the 70s.
You will go no further.
If I continue like the Dark Presence wants me to, the story I'm writing won't save Alice. It's a horror story. No one will survive.
You knew Zane! Thomas Zane! You're the Lady of the Light in the song!
He left something behind to help me. The clicker.
Alan thought of this as he stood on the rim of Cauldron Lake, the clicker in his hand. He took a deep breath and jumped.
I can get to her now. I can finish this. I had a hangover. My head was about to explode and the light hurt my eyes. I needed my sunglasses and painkillers to dull the pain. In one of my finer moments of self-deception, I swore to quit drinking.
Okay, so we just got a knowledge dump there with Thomas Zane. When he went into the well-lit room, he found that shoebox, and just like Thomas Zane said, he wrote it into his poems that the only way he'll be remembered is through shoeboxes, all his work. And he left a manuscript page in there for Alan, and it was basically talking about how Alan, when he was 7 years old, used to be scared of the dark, and his mom gave him a clicker to make him not afraid of the dark. Whenever he felt like he was scared, he just had to click the button, and the evil stuff in his head would go away. And he said, and she told him that it was given to him by his father, which he never knew his father. So how the hell did Thomas Zane know Alan Wake? How did he know about his not knowing his father? How did he know about the clicker? It just boggles Alan's mind. And then he also said that Alan would stand at the edge of Cauldron Lake with the clicker in his hand and jump in, and he'd know what to do. And now that's Alan's mission. He knows exactly what to do. And Alan's not even questioning how the hell did Thomas Zane know about the clicker? How did the clicker even appear in the shoebox when he given it to Alice years ago in New York when she was scared? He gave it and he told her the story. I think he had made up the story. I think he made up the story to make her feel better. And now Thomas Zane knows about the story, so it's like it blows Alan's mind. That's where we are. And now, but before he goes back to Cauldron Lake, now that he knows what to do, we're at a flashback. It says 2 years ago in New York. Now we're at a flashback of him at when he was still a famous writer, popular, and on his crazy journey era when he was a jerk. Looks a little clean shaven too here. He's got a headache. He's got a hangover from all the partying he's been doing.
The sunglasses made the world look bearable. Now I could keep my eyes open without feeling like a vampire in the sun.
The closet's locked now. Good old New York with cop cars, sirens left and right. Some painkillers for the pain in his head.
The pills worked fast. The prospect of being awake started to seem bearable again.
Nice, that buzzing in his head's gone. He could use a shower, but I guess he's not going in there. He's got some nice shoes on too. Alright, time to start the day.
There was a message waiting for me on the machine.
It's his office, where his typewriter and his Alice Casey / Max Payne books. There's the dual pistols that Max Payne always used in the game.
have one new message.
Al! Are you still asleep? Wakey, wakey! You should have your show on your TiVo. If Alice wasn't too mad to record it. She called me earlier and really chewed me out. Yeah, we went a little overboard last night. But parties are a part of this business. Al, look, I'm saying this as your friend. She's not doing your career any favors by trying to run your life like that, okay? I'll talk to you later, Al. Watch the show.
And now you know why Alice and Barry never got along, because Barry wanted to push his career and made him about the party life and mingle and, connect and network.
I'd
While
been a
Alice,
guest on the talk show the previous night, talking about my latest book. The show was supposed to be waiting for me on our TiVo.
and Alice, just wanted him to come home every night, but he would just go out a party and try to be a rock star writer, out in the clubs. But yeah, now I gotta go watch his about to miss his TV interview on TiVo. Remember TiVo? Y'all remember TiVo? Seems like it's so long ago that TiVo was a thing. Let's check these other rooms real quick before I watch the interview on the TV. In New York out there. Looks like Alan lives near Central Park. With all those trees everywhere. He might be. Not sure. Okay, let's watch this TV interview, talk show with him promoting his book.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Harry Garrett Show.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We have a great show tonight. I've been talking with the best-selling author Alan Wake about his new book, The Sudden Stop.
Yeah, good read. Go buy it.
No, it is a good read. Look, I'm gonna be honest here.
Is that wise?
No, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I got people who give me the lowdown on books. I'm a busy guy. But this one, I actually read from cover to cover. I mean, I'm a big fan.
Wow, thanks.
Now, this might be a spoiler for those who haven't read the book yet. Based on the sales figures, the 2 people out there who haven't read the book yet. But this last book is all about the death of the main character, the hard-boiled New York detective, Alex Casey. Now, there's been a lot of outrage about this. Why the hell did you kill Casey? What the hell were you thinking, man?
Good riddance. No, seriously though. 7 years and 6 books is a long time. He was a gloomy guy to spend all your working hours with, and it was a good run. But it's time to explore new things. My next book will be a departure from the old for me.
You selfish bastard. Always
Archer.
thinking of yourself. Well, you've certainly given us a lot of entertainment over the years. And now that you mention it, Casey was a gloomy guy. Never had much luck with his love life with the ladies. Was that autobiographical in any way?
Yeah, no kidding. Casey's lady friends tended to die on him. With Casey, it was all about his pain. No, nothing autobiographical about that. I'm a happily married man. My wife is my muse.
Well,
All about his
congratulations.
pain.
That's great to hear. So, how's the publicity tour been treating you?
Good, great. But I gotta say, I'm glad to be back home in New York.
Well, you've certainly been on the news a lot lately. Lots of parties and, you got into a fight with some paparazzi.
Oh, man. Well, that guy was really in my face. I lost my temper. I know that wasn't cool.
You are famous for that temper.
Well, I did also write several books.
Well, your latest novel is called The Sudden Stop, and it's in bookstores now. Go get it. That means the 2 of you out there who haven't bought it yet. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have for you tonight. I want to thank all our guests for the evening. Alan Wake, Sam Lake. Once more, do the face for his Sam. There it is. And our musical guests, Poets of the Fall. Thank you, and good night.
At least I'd been funny. I told myself I could live with that.
Hey, honey. Did you watch the show?
I didn't say anything stupid if that's what you want to know.
Okay, Grumpy. You want an aspirin or something?
Are you gonna start with me about drinking now?
You know what? Go back to sleep, Alan.
What? Now you can't even talk to me?
Well, this morning I was angry because you said you'd be home at midnight and you showed up at 7 a.m. and passed out in mid-sentence. Now I'm over it. Are you angry?
This goddamn tour. It's gotten out of hand.
Oh, honey. It's almost over, right? We can get back to normal. Then you can start writing again.
I'm sorry, honey.
Alan, you're not thinking straight. Just take a shower and go back to bed, huh?
Yeah, you're right, honey. I'm sorry. Once this is over, let's go away together. A vacation. Just you and me. Some peace and quiet. Somehow, the clicker was the key to the cabin. I had to return to Cauldron Lake to save Alice. I'm going back to the lake to finish this. I'm going to write an ending to the story in the manuscript on my own terms, to make it all right.
Why can't you just write it here?
The last page is still in the typewriter. I need to read it first. Everything needs to be just right. Zane tried to cut some corners, and it didn't end well.
Okay, ready when you are.
I'm sorry, Sarah, but I need to do this alone. Barry, take her gun. Miss Weaver, close the door when I leave.
Good luck, Al.
See you later. When I got out, it was warm and sunny. I'd flicked the switch of the clicker. Had it done this? I didn't stop to question it. I had to take advantage of the sunlight to get to the lake. On Zane's page, I had stood on the rim of Cauldron Lake, about to use the clicker. That's where I was headed. Alone, in daylight, surrounded by the beauty of the Pacific Northwest landscape, it was hard not to let doubt creep in one last time. I could still chalk everything up to a dream, a delusion. I had enough imagination to make up something like this, having been in the cabin all this time, trapped in a story inside my head, gone mad from grief over Alice's death like Hartman had claimed. There would be no way of knowing. I told myself it didn't really matter. My course was set.
So now he's gotta go to the Cauldron Lake with the clicker. But if you watch that flashback with the TV, you saw that Alan Wake was talking about, his last book he wrote, which was ending Max Payne, like killing off the character. And then also, he was gonna write a new book called Departure, which means like he's departing from Max Payne. And this is the book that he's writing now, with the manuscript. So his new book, Departure, is this book that he's writing about the whole Cauldron Lake and getting Alice back. Also, Sam Lake was there, sitting next to him, who's the creative director of Remedy, and he's the guy that writes all these stories, these games. He's the face of Max Payne. So it was just funny to see him there. Then they told him, do the face, and he did the face. And then you also see Poets of the Fall. The background, they were the musical guests of that episode. Which is also funny because, they're also the fictional band of old gods of Asgard. See, right there, it says, that same sign again, yours home in the pines. Visit the haunted witch's ladle. That witch's ladle tree, it will be a prominent in a future game. Just watch that. Remember that. And it's like Cauldron Lake campgrounds. Stay in your country cabins, barefree. I gotta go there. That's where we're going. Witch's ladle. This is why Barbara Jagger, she became the fucking she became the folklore of the town. Because although Thomas Zane and Thomas Zane wrote to Barbara and him out of him and her out of existence. Their memories and everything remained in those shoe boxes, but the darkness took over her face. See how the darkness is still trying to stop me going that direction. The darkness took over her face and was, messing around the town and the mountains, making people disappear. So the legend grew of the witch and the witch's ladle, the tree that she would hang around. So it's like the darkness can like move around the area, but it can't escape the Cauldron Lake area. And it's using Alan Wake and his writing to escape, to be free from freaking, Cauldron Lake and Bright Falls area. Elderwood Palace Lodge, where history meets hospitality. That lodge is where the town was started. You'll see it also prominent in another game. So it's cool seeing all these landmarkers because they do have meaning in future installments. Some batteries right here I'm gonna pick up. More of this beautiful land. This game looks so pretty. Which car did I take? I took that car. I'll take this car now. Keep stealing cars. Yeah, you gotta fit the lore. You gotta fit with the. They're trying to get away from the cops. So he's gotta switch cars a lot. Oh yeah, I gotta look at this sign real quick. I forgot about that. Is it this sign or? There's a sign somewhere here. I think it's the sign. Yeah, here it is. The Majestic Motel, just down the road. Come on in. Comfortable beds, clean rooms, wireless internet, laundry facilities, cable TV, each and every room. In every room. Can't forget that. Alright, well, we'll go ahead and try the Majestic Motel soon. Login area ahead. 97 KFB FM, the voice of Bright Falls. Construction right here. Oh yeah, there's a stash down here. We're gonna go see the arrow right there. Even in daylight, she's trying to help me. There's also some ammo right here. Rifle? Hell yeah. Look how I parked inside the bush. There it is, right there, the torch light. Cynthia Weaver's all over this place. Gearing me up. One thing I'm missing though is a flashlight. I don't have a flashlight. Oh, I crashed already. Damn. I don't want to fall off that edge because it's game over if I fall off the edge. If I remember correctly, there's a coffee thermos right here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. big old farmhouse. Another ledge you don't want to drive off of. Let's get back on the road. Let's say Bright Falls Deer Fest Festival. Cool. Oh, well, there goes my adventure. The darkness is still trying to stop me.
The darkness had touched me. There was a link between us, always would be. I could feel its presence again, getting closer.
I will kill your wife.
Ow! Oh, I got the big flashlight still. Cool. I didn't even realize that. I guess I didn't pull it out because it wasn't ready to fight in combat. Manuscript page.
The dark presence was no longer trying to capture the writer so he could create the ending it wanted. The writer knew too much. He was too strong. And he carried a weapon left behind by Thomas Zane, something that could hurt it. Now, the darkness was doing everything in its power to simply stop the writer from ever reaching Cauldron Lake and the dark place it came from.
See? Now it's in pure attack mode. Or would it be more defense mode? I don't know. Interesting. Think about it. Lights are breaking. Better take this car. It got dark super fast over here. Cars going all over the road. Look at this, man. Oh shit! Gotta keep going. Whoa. Dead end right here. Majestic Motel. Oh, yeah, if I remember correctly, these cans right here. I'm gonna break them. Oops. Oh. Come on, really? There we go. How many cans is that? 11 out of 12. One more cans to break. Here's the hotel. Motel, whatever. I don't want the shotgun.
Based on the signature in the motel register, Agent Nightingale had stayed here, in room number 2.
Interesting. There's the coffee Bug, thank you. Must be a page here, but I think it's for nightmare difficulty. What's to say? Majestic Hotel, general information, refundable $100 security deposit, required all reservations, no personal check accepted. Cards, check them. Tip. No loud music and no pets. Oh man, come on. One vehicle per unit. Damn, only one vehicle? The seats are registered guests only. No visitors allowed on the premises after 9 p.m. No exceptions. Damn. No exceptions. Nobody coming over for a fun night. We hope you enjoy your stay at the Majestic. If you're a senior or vet, ask about our discounts. They run a tight ship here. Look at that. Creepy painting. It's only creepy because we're in a horror game. What does that say? Can't read it. There he is. He was in this room. There's his jacket. FBI jacket.
This had obviously been the room where Agent Nightingale had stayed when he hadn't been busy harassing me.
He's got some wine, some Cheetos, and the Creator's Dilemma book he was reading up on Emil Hartman. Look at that, he had photos of everybody. He had photos of Barry, the radio guy, the bridge, the dude from the trailer park, Alice, Hartman, Cynthia Weaver. Yeah, photos of everybody. The kidnapper guy. Damn it. He was hunting, he was stalking. He was wild. Out of control. He had flashbang.
Look after yourself and your co-workers!
I legit scared the shit out of me. That legit scared me. Like, holy shit, I didn't expect that. Locked. You can see inside the rooms. And locked. Can't jump up that. Guess we gotta go over there to that bridge. It's glowing. Ominous. I think I'll take this car. Oh, I can't. It's broken. Now. Can I take this car? Nope. There's a bullet hole in it. Let's back to my car. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna take this car. Switching cars left and right here. Deerfest. Let's go to Deerfest. Let's go over here first. That's blocked off. This has nothing here. It's nothing. Whoa! I better kill these guys first. Okay. Ow!
What the hell?
Whoa! Ow!
Nice to see you, too.
Almost died right there. Finally a car. Oh shit. What did I crash into? Oh my gosh, this is bad. Ah, I can't. Oh no. Oh my gosh! How am I still alive? I'm dead. Dude! Oh my god, I got ran over. Okay, do not get out of the car. And do not get stuck on that little piece of that road. I got ran over, dude. That was bad. Here we go. Oh, I'm stuck again. Ah! There's a boat right there. There we go. Ow! I think there's a manuscript here, but it could be an utter difficulty. Yes, utter difficulty. Ah, you can't break that? Come on. Oh, shit! Go. Let's try it. Destroy any link of the darkness. I don't want the darkness to survive. Ow! Okay. Try to be consistent, take out all the darkness. I don't have to, but it's nice. Ow! There we go. Out of revolver ammo though. See what this one says.
The bottom of Cauldron Lake was a graveyard of things the lake had claimed in one way or another over the decades. The dark presence brought them up in its wake, scattering the rotten waterlogged hull of an old boat here, the remains of a long-ago crashed airplane there, trees shattered under the impacts. The earth groaned. It didn't even notice.
So that explains why there's boats in the middle of the land. It's like spitting all that stuff out. Spitting all that stuff out, trying to stop Alan from doing his thing, from getting to Cauldron Lake now. Now that the darkness knows that it's vulnerable, it's trying to stop him at all costs. There's the witch's little tree. Oh shit. There's a thermos over here, or a page? I forget which one it is. The page. Look at that, blocked me all up with rocks and everything.
In the end, Barry wasn't going to shoot Sarah. They both knew that. Once she had no chance of catching up to Wake, Barry gave up the gun and sat down on the floor. shielding his face from the merciless glare of the well-lit room. "I don't think I'm ever going to see him again," he said in a weak voice. Sarah didn't have it in her to be mad at him. Besides, he was probably right.
Damn. Really does like Alan, even though he uses him for his fame to make more money. They are best friends after all. Auto salvage and used parts. Okay, we're going to a junkyard. That's where we're headed. I think there's a sign right here I'm supposed to read. There it is. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Trespassers will be prosecuted. Solicitors will be shot. See yard manager when you enter. Sounds like a friendly place. Oh, a yellow arrow. The heavy breathing sound again. Is Cynthia Weaver breathing, or who is it breathing? Oh. I really need it. Rifle ammo. I have too much shotgun ammo right now. Old rusty stove and oven. Oh, couldn't get up there. All the signs. All visitors must see the yard manager. You must sign in the liability waiver before entering the yard. If you're looking for a specific part, ask first. Before you pull it, you must bring your own tools. Wear protective clothing. Warning: junk piles may shift hazardous area. Alright. Nothing wrong could be in here. Nothing scary could be in here. This is a little detour. Here's the rifle ammo. Ah! I had the wrong gun. I guess it gave me that gun when I picked it up. I thought I had the handgun ready to fire. More supplies. I'm already full on batteries. Oh, coffee thermos. Hello. Thank you. I think there's manuscript page upstairs, but it might be for a nightmare. Oh yeah, I gotta open this too. That's the gate. Oh! Someone else is coming. Where are they? They stuck somewhere? There he is. Darkness was stuck on the stairs. Darkness didn't know how to use the stairs. The page is somewhere right here. I had a good old map. Oh, is this the last tin can? That should have been it. Let me see. Yeah, that should have been the last one. Should I restart it? Let's see. I restarted just to see if it works again. Okay. Read the sign again. There's the sign. That worked. That was better than the first time. Coffee thermos again. I don't know why, but I guess the PC version has trouble with these achievements. Gotta blame Epic Games for that one. Because I remember on the console, it was like way easier. The achievements would actually work when you got them. I should have got this one right here by shooting this can. Finally. Yeah, because that's 12 out of 12. Yep. Whatever. I've played this game so many times. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Now, we can head to, oh wait, I didn't open the gate. Oops, forgot to open the gate this time. Oops. My bad. Here it is. Where's the thermos at? There it is. Ooh, it's a big jump. Hopefully the thermos count, because one of them might catch grabbing them all four if they're not gonna count either. Oh yeah, truck. Let's go back a little bit, get some air. Woo! That's pretty lame. Wasn't that exciting? Manuscript page.
Zane cut its heart out, but it didn't die. The thing that wore Barbara's face kept crooning sweet nothings sugar-laced with poison. He put on the suit, untied the monster from the chair. The thing in his arms thrashed weakly, but he held fast. He stepped outside, off the pier, and into the dark water, a sinking pinprick of light descending toward a bottom that never came.
So there you go. So now you know why the darkness that has Barbara Jagger's face has a hole in its chest, because he cut out the heart when trying to fight this darkness back in the day. But then he put on his diver suit and jumped into the water after her. And that's probably how he ended up in the cabin again, and then he had to write those poems, and then he decided to write himself out the story and put only his memories in the shoebox. For one day, another writer to pick up where he left off, but also get put in the same situation. Okay, let's get up here. Triggered something. The lights are off. We're going back now. Oh no. Oh! Barely stopped me from dying there. Another car here. Darkness is going over the mountain. Everywhere. Oh, it's a sketch. Look at that crushed right there. Oh, now it races up. What the hell? Nothing over here. Just a whole bunch of pile of cars. I'll let you go all the way back here. Nothing here though, right? No hidden Easter egg or anything. Can't go between those. Okay, let's get the hell out of here. I had enough of this junkyard.
When I told Barry my plan back in the well-lit room, I'd acted as if I knew what I was doing. I didn't. I was operating on the shifting logic of a dream. I had to fight my way to the lake through the horrors of the night. I had to flick an old battered light switch imbued with childhood magic. I had to write a happy ending to a horror story. I had to save my wife from the dark prison she was being held in.
The bridge is out. No shit. Okay, here we go. Chest. Alright. We just came from over there, look at that. We were just over there. I love this game, how it's like semi-open world. It makes everything seem so big. You like look at it, because you are exploring the big areas. Okay. What's next? This old town. This is a very old town. Follow. Follow. Oh! Down to a tetanus shot. Yeah, man, there's the abyss over there. We're gonna stick with the rifle for now. I just prefer the rifle in this game over the shotgun. Oh! Even though there's less ammo for the rifle than there is the shotgun.
I will never give her to you.
Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh no! Big dude right there, the chainsaw coming at me. Oh my goodness, no effect. How about a flashbang? There we go. Caustic thermos. Yay, more hunting rifle ammo. Nice. Okay. This evil Barbara Jagger, she is mad. She's not want me getting close to the Cauldron Lake. Say 1929. Damn, that's how old this place is. shit. Okay, I got everybody, I think. Okay, coast looks clear here. The whale right here. I like how someone's left this here conveniently for me. Oh, we'll abandon the town, but we'll leave this high-tech equipment here. Okay, there we go. Manuscript page. Uh-oh.
The dark place I found myself in was unlike anything I could ever have imagined. It wasn't solid. It flowed. It was conceptual and subjective. For someone else, an artist in another field, it would have been very different. I could sense the story of the manuscript all around me, the words and ideas floating in the air, poised to become real.
So it's trying to say like every artist experiences the dark place differently depending on their gifts. Whether it's a musician, a poet, a writer, a painter, whatever. Okay, where is the sound coming from? Who's trying to attack me? Who's trying to attack me? I guess they died. Should I even be on this side? I don't think I should be on this side. Just keep going. There we go.
I could see Mirror Peak in the distance. That's where Cauldron Lake was.
That big, huge, pointy mountain with the white, frosty tip. That is Mirror's Peak. We're getting closer. Oh. Oh yeah, this part. I hate this part. I hate it because I die sometimes during this part. Bird City over there. Alright, here we go. There's a sketch. Some Donkey Kong shit right now. Ow! Birds. Yeah, these birds don't play. They still want to fight, even though I'm in the light. They still want to come at me. They might be the most aggressive enemies in the game. Hear them up there? They sound insane. They're going bananas up there. But remember, they're not real birds. These are birds made from darkness. Go. Weapon cache. I'm all suited up now. Okay, what's next? Go back this way? Oh, the light got him still. The light managed to burn him. I wasn't even trying to hit burn him right there, and the light got him for me. Oh, big jump. Birds are crazy, man. It's coffee thermos. And then mine shaft in there. That started out way over there. Ow, what hit me, man? Oh. That's why you gotta get rid of this darkness stuff on the floor. You just never know when it's going to attack you. Ow. Here we go. Whoa, another one? Where? Oh, right here. This weird looking rock. Very trippy rock. Yeah, I better get going. How is there still light here? Crazy. Who lives out here? Beer cans and mattresses. You have to be crazy if I live out here. Middle of nowhere. Maybe that's how people like it. But then you got the darkness around here, so who wants to live out here with the darkness? Gonna take that white cap too? Okay, I think we're leaving the little town now, finally. Whoa. Where is he? These fast guys are super fast. Where are you, man? There you go. Somebody else out there? That a boat or something. Whoa.
Shit.
There goes pieces of a boat. Oh, shit. Whoa, actual boat. Oh. coffee thermos. No. Where is he? Actual boat just came out of the sky. Tree's on fire. Oh shit. There we go. Woo. Oh shit.
Oh crap.
That is a whole train. Okay. Whoa. Ow! A giant boat just came out of the sky. Boats everywhere. What the hell just hit me? Oh. Ow. That massive boat. Crazy. The darkness wears her face. Sounds about right. Oh, here's the... That should have been the last box. Let me check. Yeah, it's the last box. Didn't get it. That's okay. The darkness controls the taken. Got that right. Should I go for the shotgun? Let's go for the shotgun. Forget it. Okay, where am I jumping now? Oh, here. There's a coffee thermos over here as well. Yep. Whoa! He walked into the freaking light. He went right into the light. Got shocked. Nothing here? Guess that's it. This music playing. Oh, manuscript page.
After Zane had gone, I stood alone in the shifting dream that was the dark place. I had to find a way to the cabin. I'd written myself a way through this place in the manuscript. I followed the idea of a path. I'd written myself across the ocean that blocked my way, and with that, there was a bridge to the island beyond. The idea of the cabin flickered in the underwater darkness. I willed the cabin to be real, and it was.
So basically he's saying that he's gonna come across, when he gets to Cauldron Lake, cabin's actually not gonna be there because it's not. So he's gonna wield his writing to make it come true. Remember, this writing that he's doing, he did it while all inside the cabin. All these pages that he's finding, up until the last page that he needs. So that's what that means. Let's see if he can get there and Yeah.
Turn back now.
Trying to stop him. Oh, is it clear? Okay, got it.
Do as you're told.
Oh. Wait, let me just see. Did I get all the pages? I'm missing one. 91. Okay. Oh, I got them all.
Alice never loved you.
Whoa! Ow! That hurt.
You can't win.
Oh! I just killed myself. What am I doing? I didn't even see that gap. I just fell right in the gap.
You can't win.
Oh, there you go. Oh, I got pushed down. Oh, I stopped dying. Come on. There. Deal with that no more.
You can't win.
Ugh. spam it. Spam the hell out of it. Oh, I dropped it.
I had to get light into its heart to hurt it.
That's gotta be it, man. How much more do you need to take? Oh my gosh, that big RV. I'm going in.
You will fail. It's all in your head. You're making this up.
Baby, you were having a bad dream. It was just another nightmare.
No,
Everything's fine. You're home.
it wasn't a dream.
Everything's fine.
Turn the lights on. Turn the lights on!
Shh, baby. The power's out. There's no light. Come back to bed and I'll make you forget all about your fear of the dark.
My fear? It's your fear. Why aren't you afraid? You're not Alice. Turn the lights on now. Where's the clicker? What did you do with it?
Alan, honey, you're still 1 foot in a dream. You're not making any sense. Come back to bed.
Back to bed, you say? Look at the windows. Look at her. She looks cold.
Alan, you're scaring me now. Come back to bed. Have you taken your pills? Do you want me to call Dr. Hartman? I read your manuscript. It's brilliant. Departure is your best work yet. You're a genius. I'm so proud of you. Come back to bed. We'll talk more about it in the morning.
Oh yeah, look at this. You see that? You can see Barbara Jagger's reflection in the photos. See her with the necklace and her face, like she's staring right at you. Very nice touch. Like she's watching you.
Come back to bed, Alan.
Come back to bed, Tom.
No! Yeah, see your face right there? Look at New York outside, it's just a darkness. This is what the darkness wants to do, take over the whole world. There's the clicker.
You must find your way to the cabin. It stands in your way. It won't let you pass. It has no heart. It's filled with darkness. You must fill its heart with light. Don't mind him. He's Mr. Scott. Your friends will meet him when you're gone. Use the clicker.
It looks like inside the dark place when Alan types, he just types words out and they become true. And you saw how Thomas Zane said, "Don't mind him," like you saw his double appear. Don't mind him. He's Scratch. He'll take your place while you're down here.
I followed the idea of a path. The idea of a path.
I'm leaving you.
What?
I'm leaving you, Alan. I met someone. I'm in love with someone else.
Alice? No, what are you saying? You can't.
You don't love me. How could you when you don't even love yourself? All you do is torture yourself with work you can't do anymore.
No, I love you more than anything in the world. You're my muse.
I'm not.
Who are you? What have you done with my Alice?
Alan? What are you doing? Put the light back on! What are you doing, Alan? Stop! Put the light back on!
It wasn't true. Nothing like that had ever happened. had written myself across the ocean.
Across the ocean.
You're not my Barbara.
Tom, let me go. I promise to be good. Please, untie me, you naughty boy. I will help you write your masterpiece. I will love you forever.
No, you're not Barbara Jagger. I made a terrible mistake. I should have never written you back. You came back wrong. Your heart is filled with darkness.
Put that knife away, Thomas. Put it down.
Your heart is filled with darkness. I'll cut it out.
Ah!
Take you back to the depths you came from.
But Thomas Zane had tied up Barbara Jagger after she came back from the water. Because she wasn't Barbara Jagger anymore, she was the darkness. And he got crazy trying to fix it. He ended up tearing out her heart.
Filled with darkness.
Get away from me, you hag! Where am I? Let me go!
Alice! Alice! I'm coming!
Your husband refused to do as he was told. All he had to do was write what I wanted him to write. Now it's too late. It's his fault. You'll stay here forever.
Now you will never get her back.
I am much older than you. Older than your first work of art. I will find a new face to wear. Someone else to dream me free.
I could feel Alice's presence close by. I understood what I had to do now. I knew how to write the ending to Departure. There's light and there's darkness. Cause and effect. There's guilt and there's atonement. But the scales always need to balance. Everything has a price. That's where Zane had gone wrong. There's a long journey through the night back into the light. Alice? Alice? Oh no!
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. 10. Ground control 9, to Major Tom. 8, 7, 6. Commencing 5, countdown, engines on. 3, 2. Check ignition and may God's love be with you. This is ground control to Major Tom. You've really made the grade, and the papers want to know whose shirts you wear. Now it's time
Okay, that was the ending of the game. And if you're probably wondering what the heck has happened, well, I could kind of explain it to the best without spoiling the rest of it. But pretty much, Alan finally makes his way back to Cauldron Lake, to the top of that cliff. He sees the darkness trying to stop him from getting to the house, the cabin at all cost, with the darkness tornado, whatever the heck. So Alan, he shoots those flares out and he blows up the darkness, weakening it to jump back into uh, the cabin. So as he's like reversing his steps back to the cabin, and he's seeing all those words that he was writing, he gets to the cabin and that's where he sees the darkness of in the shape of Barbara Jagger, and there's that hole in her heart that Thomas Zane tore out in his attempts to stop her, and he knows what he has to do. So he grabs his hand with the clicker in his hand and he puts it in her heart and he clicks the clicker and it flashes light in her and it kills her. So, and she's an entity apparently that is ancient because it tells her, you may have I may not be able to control you no more because you're already aware to my dealings, whatever. But I'll find somebody else to free me from this lake. But before she could even do that, or hide or whatever, or go back into her dormant state, he killed her with the light of the clicker. So he kills her, and meanwhile he's in the cabin underwater when all this is going down. This is the fight. And he discovers, he comes to the realization that the story has to have balance, and there's a price to pay every time. So his price to free Alice is to sacrifice himself, because that's where Thomas Zane went wrong. When Thomas Zane was down there fighting off the entity and trying to free himself and his love Barbara Jagger, it never worked. With all the poems he was writing, nothing was working to get him out of there. So he finally came to the realization himself, like, the only way I could get out of here and free her as well is if I write us both out of existence in reality. And the only way we could get out is if I save my memories of who I am in a shoebox for somebody else to come along and write me out of this situation, which is Alan Wake. So he sacrificed himself and her, Thomas Zane. He sacrificed himself to wait dormant down in the lake for someone years later, decades later, to come along and save them, which was Alan Wake. And Alan Wake came to the realization that he's not going to be able to get her out and himself out in a happy ending either. That he has to sacrifice himself too. So he writes everybody to be, I guess, cured from the darkness, who he didn't kill, and that's why you see in the town, you see all the people come back that Alan didn't kill with his gun and his flashlight, and you see Agent Nightingale in the back window. He survived. He's like puzzled what the hell just happened, the FBI agent. And you also see Rose, the waitress from the diner, and if you notice, now she's holding the lantern, and it's almost like if she takes on the role of the old lady. What's her name? The lamp lady that was in love with Thomas Zane and was waiting for his return. She takes on that role now for Alan, so that's why she's holding the little lamp in her hand, because now she knows the dark presence and what it did to her, and she fears that Alan Wake is somewhere trapped, but she doesn't know where or how to get him out. So now she is hopelessly waiting for his return, and Alan's stuck down there. It's it. He's not coming back out, and he's like, well, the only way I can write myself out is to write myself out. So he's going to sit there underwater and stay in that little room in the cabin and type his way out. That's his plan. So he freed Alice. He got her out of the water. She was down there for a week and she got out. And she's there without Alan now. She's like, she's probably depressed and all that. But anyways, so now Alan's stuck down there. He's done. And he comes to the realization that little lake that's surrounded by mountains in the forest It's not a lake, it's an actual ocean. An ocean of what, though? We don't know. So that's how it ends. It ends in a kind of sad ending where Alan sacrifices himself to save his wife and the people of the town from the darkness. Um, there's the harder mode, which was Nightmare that I unlocked. I replayed it and I got the extra manuscript pages that you couldn't get from playing it the first time. So I guess I'll play those out for you so you can check them out if you want to. Where is it? I think it's playback. And then you go to manuscripts. So I got all the manuscript pages now, and this book is called Departure because it was a departure from his Max Payne / Alex Casey books that he got tired of writing. Departure was this whole story, this nightmare. So I guess we can play all the manuscript pages now in full, and let's see how they sound. So maybe you can just get a better idea of things. I'll play them right now. And these right here are the new ones that you get from the nightmare difficulty. So now we'll just play them out.
Departure by Alan Wake.
There it is. That's the first page.
The man turned to face me. His face was covered in shadows. It was hard to make him out in the darkness of the forest that surrounded us, but the axe he lifted was plain to see. It glistened with the blood of his victim. He grinned madly. The shadows were alive, distorting his features. It was a scene from a nightmare, but I was awake.
I was awake. He's awake.
The Taken stood before me. It was impossible to focus on it, as if it stood in a blind spot caused by a brain tumor and eye disease. It was bleeding shadows like ink underwater, like a cloud of blood from a shark bite. I was terrified. I squeezed the flashlight like my life depended on it, willing it to stop coming any closer. Suddenly something gave, and the light seemed to shine brighter.
So all these pages he was writing down there when he was stuck down there for a week. Without even realizing he was doing that. She was forcing him to write all these pages and take everybody out in her path. So this is one of the new pages that I got from Nightmare Mode.
For a long time, the dark presence had been weak, sleeping. Nothing but a half-forgotten nightmare or a shadowy flicker in the corner of an eye in the forest at night. Not real enough to properly exist, and yet too evocative to fade away completely. Now it was waking up. The rider like a fly caught in a spider's web, each jerk and kick vibrating the strands that led deep into its lair. It was aware of him now, and it could use him. All he'd need was a little incentive.
Basically, the darkness has been waiting dormant under there for the next victim, and as soon as Alan Wake and his wife came to town to rest on vacation, the darkness started getting excited and more agitated and jumpy because it felt his presence and his ability. Because if you remember, only artists, creative people can bring out, I guess, the darkness from its depths. Like artists who do painting, who do singing, like the Anderson brothers, who also had to deal with the darkness in their own time. The poet Thomas Zane, this writer Alan Wake, anybody who could, the video game creator, anybody who's creative, it draws out that energy to escape this ocean that they're in, the darkness I'm talking about.
I heard them before I saw them, swooping down from the sky and screeching as they came. I spun around just as the cloud was upon me. For an instant, I stared into 100 dead eyes, black pearls glittering in the darkness. I raised the flashlight and the swarm exploded like fireworks. Feathers burned, turned into ash. I couldn't hear my scream above theirs.
Talking about the fake darkness birds that the darkness created to try to stop him. And remember, he's calling these shadowy figure people the Taken, because the darkness takes you. This is the Taken he's talking about. He's fighting.
At first, I kept finding the pages as if by accident. The book I couldn't remember was either a terrible and true prophecy or an act of creation that had rewritten the world. I began to hunt the pages feverishly, for they held the answer to the mystery. With it, I could save myself. With it, I could save Alice. I stepped into the gas station's garage. It was dark and quiet. The place was a mess. It looked like someone trashed the place or that there'd been some kind of fight. Light spilled into the room through an open door at the back, and I made my way toward it. Without any warning, I was blinded by a bright light. An old portable TV on the shelf had come alive by itself. Impossibly, I could see myself on the screen, talking like a madman.
My guess is those TVs that he kept coming across where he was seeing himself down in the cabin writing all this book was maybe that was like Thomas Zane trying to help him or in some way to remember where he was, what he was doing.
The cabin on Cauldron Lake? She asked. The sheriff looked at me suspiciously. The early morning light flooded through the office windows. I would probably never have gotten out of the woods alive without her help, but I couldn't tell her the truth of what I'd faced the previous night. She'd think I was lying or crazy. She'd lock me up, and she wouldn't help me find Alice.
He's talking about Sheriff Breaker, the Sarah Breaker, whatever. Which is, remember, she told Barry to call her father, and she told the father code Night Springs. That's gonna be important later in another game. Just remember that.
Stucky spat on the garage floor and tried to shake the cobwebs from his head. Ever since the couple never showed to pick up the keys, things had been fuzzy. A feeling caught his attention. Stucky looked up and stared as his brain tried in vain to process the horror before him. He stumbled back, knocking over a can of oil. A black pool spread across the floor while he struggled for a brief moment, then let go as the unrelenting darkness engulfed him.
And then he became a Taken. I'm assuming he's dead because Alan killed him, so maybe he didn't come back. I'm assuming Stucky's dead.
Rose knew she had been gushing, but right now she didn't care. As far as she was concerned, her brief meeting with Alan Wake was literally the high point of her life. She watched as he got in the car with his wife. She was pretty, confident, at ease with Wake. Not like Rose. They were perfect for each other. She'd have given anything to be called their friend.
That's Rose being obsessed with Alan. She first sees his wife with him.
Barry Wheeler was bouncing off the walls. He jumped on a plane after his calls were ignored by both Al and Alice for several days. It could mean that they were both on a second honeymoon, but Barry didn't buy it. Al had been way too unstable for that, not sleeping, messed up. Barry had years of experience dealing with Alan Wake, and he couldn't ignore it. Something was wrong.
So that was that whole week they went missing. These are 2 new pages from the nightmare.
Toby knew the smell. It was the man, the nice man who always gave him treats and never got tired of playing with him. Toby wagged his tail in excited anticipation and gave a joyous bark. Then there was another smell, a wrong smell, and it was alien enough to stop Toby in his tracks. Confused, he growled deep in his throat. The wrong smell came from the nice man. Blind animal terror pierced the dog's brain an instant before the axe followed suit.
So if you remember in the first episode, he hears on the radio station a caller called in saying they lost their dog and they couldn't find it. And then eventually in the next episode, I think you find the dog at the cabin place, the hotel place. He's like hurt and injured. So it's basically describing that even the animals can sense the Taken. Like they even know something's wrong. Obviously they got attacked by the Taken. But thankfully the dog made it out because he wasn't killed. Here's the other page from Nightmare Mode.
Barry took another sip of the heavenly coffee. He grinned at Rose. Surely this was love. Rose gushed on breathlessly. The new one will be a masterpiece, I know it. You must tell him not to listen to the trolls in the forums saying Departure will never get finished. He should take his time and make it perfect. I can wait.
This is basically, this doesn't take place during the game. Well, like, not in your experience, from your side. Basically, when Barry came to town, he found Rose at the diner, and they're talking about how Rose is so excited about Alan's new book, The Departure. Because remember, he was on a TV show, and he announced that he was going to make a new book called The Departure, but he hadn't written it yet. And she obviously watched that interview, so she was really hyped about the new book that he was going to write. And this is basically Rose telling Barry about it, and Barry's learning about the town and all that stuff. Okay, what's next? Oh, that's why he got the call from Rose when he was like, "Oh, Rose is calling," because he had talked to her in that diner when he was looking for Alan. Okay, let's go to the next episode. The Taken.
It's true what they say about the fall and the sudden stop at the end. I'd lain here in the snow while the lurid chain of scenes that had led me here kept playing in my head. A rerun of my own private snuff movie. A memory of my corpse. Alone at my own wake. Thinking in metaphors again. The femme fatale was gone. Only a sour taste remained of the kiss that killed me.
This is basically Alan's last book, the Max Payne, Alex Casey book. And that's Max Payne talking, because remember, Alan created Max Payne in this universe. So it's like his final moments before he passes. This is Max Payne's final moments, called The Sudden Stop.
This was a late goodbye. 13 years after I'd gotten my revenge, it had finally caught up with me. It had been a long time to bear the pain. My blood painted the snow red. A gruesome slushy dissolved all the scattered painkillers and leisurely dripped down to the sewer, mingling with the bile of the city, becoming one with it. I can see them now, my wife and my baby. Honey, I'm home.
So this is Max Payne's final moments before he dies. As you see, he says this was a late goodbye, which is the song. The Late Goodbye was the theme song for Max Payne 2 by Poets of the Fall. And Poets of the Fall also have music in this game, and they're also the alter egos of the Old Gods of Asgard. They wrote the songs for Old Gods of Asgard and their own songs in here by the poets. So that was like a little nod to the Max Payne 2, the Late Goodbye theme song. And then it's basically saying that Max Payne is dying in his final moments. No painkillers can save him, and he's going to heaven or wherever he's going to go to see his wife and baby that he lost. So that was like six. I think it was 6 books that Alan Wake wrote of Max Payne / Alex Casey. I think it was 6. I don't remember. Okay, now back to his other story, The Departure.
In spite of its human mask, to describe the dark presence as intelligent would have implied human qualities on something decidedly inhuman. Nonetheless, it found the one spot in the diner that was dark enough. Some light spilled into the corridor, ravaging it, but it took the pain. Horrible as it was, the writer would soon fix that. He would be coming to the one place where it still had power.
So pretty much the darkness is like, it's almost like if it's human, but it's not. And as if you, when I was playing the game, you can hear the darkness repeating words of the hosts of the bodies it takes over. So like it takes over your mind. So like that's why you hear some of the Taken repeating like the same dialogue as when they were once human. So now we go to this next one.
The kidnapper fired his gun one last time, and the shadow vanished into the darkness it had come from. See? Nothing to it, Wake. The thought of Alice in his hands was revolting. We stood on the wooden platform of Lover's Peak, the waterfall on the mountain behind us, the lights of the radio mast blinking red in the heights above. I fought with the urge to take a swing, force myself to speak. Let's cut the act now. Where's my wife?
This is when he was going to the ransom of the Mott guy, asking where his wife was. But obviously they never had Alice the whole time. They were just using Alice as bait to get to Wake, but they never actually had Alice in the first place. And she was still down under the lake.
Alice looked through the viewfinder, lining up the shot. Cauldron Lake was breathtaking. Something caught her eye. A figure standing in the shadows behind the cabin, like a thin woman in a black dress. She lowered the camera and looked again. No one there. Just a collection of bushes that looked vaguely human-shaped. She shook her head and laughed.
As Alice noticing Barbara Jagger taking the Taken, as she's about to take a picture, because remember she's a photographer.
Barry had never gotten along with Alice, But he knew Alan loved her with an almost frightening intensity. And now something had happened to Alice. And here was Al armed with a gun and saying things people got put in padded cells for. It was as if his friend had experienced a massive psychotic episode and was now totally disconnected from reality. It scared the shit out of Barry.
Barry's questioning what the hell is going on at that point, if Alan's quite crazy or not.
The air in the visitor center was heavy with an awful smell, as if some rotten drowned thing had crawled up from its grave. Rusty kept coughing blood. My eyes were drawn to the twisted shape of his broken leg. The attack had been vicious. Max whined in his cage. Rusty's eyes were wild with fear and terror. He gasped. "Mr. Wake, it happened just the way it was on that page."
Rusty was the what do they call those? The cops who patrol the woods, whatever. And he was also running the cabins, the hotel cabins. And yeah, that's when he got attacked by the Taken, and he was dying, about to be turned into a Taken himself.
The visitor center was sturdy, but the impact turned the front of the building into splinters. Rusty was thrown across the lobby like a rag doll and hit the far wall hard. It didn't hurt until he tried to move and saw his leg bend the wrong way, felt the broken ribs stabbing him on the inside. Rusty howled in pain and fear, suddenly afraid to die alone. At the last instant, I changed direction and threw myself down. The axe splintered the trunk of a tree. I stumbled into the pool of bright light. My lungs burned. I was too exhausted to move. I tensed as I waited for the killing blow, but it never came. I raised my head. Nothing moved in the darkness beyond. For the moment, bathed in the cold light, I was safe.
That's when Alan Wake discovers that the Taken do not like any sort of light. So that's when you could run to light posts and hide first, or this is your safe haven to re-heal. And he discovered that the Taken don't like the light. They won't attack you in the light.
In that last instant of consciousness, Rusty thought about Rose. He was older than she was. Rose was barely out of her teens, but she made him feel young and forget what a train wreck his long-dead marriage had been. He still wore the ring. He'd been waiting for her to tell him to take it off. Now she never would.
So that's his confessing his love to Rose, but he was gonna die anyways by the Taken. Gonna take over his body. And yeah.
I turned the corner, afraid of what the flashlight's beam might reveal. Suddenly, a roughly painted symbol of a torch glowed in the light. Behind it, hidden by a rock, sat a battered metal trunk. It was here for a reason, packed with supplies, batteries, flares, ammo, things you need to make it through the darkness of the night. Something left behind by someone who knew what I knew, and more.
That's Cynthia Weaver, the lamp lady, and he's discovering that these are the caches that she left behind during the daytime for Alan. She didn't know it was gonna be Alan, but she kept reading Thomas Zane's poems and his notes that he left behind, and she was preparing for a battle that Thomas Zane warned her about, but she didn't know Alan was gonna be the hero. But she prepped anyways, because she believed in Thomas Zane. And she wanted him to be free. She sacrificed all her years of her life preparing for this battle that Alan Wake was going to have later.
Agent Nightingale didn't want to be in Bright Falls. These little communities revolted him, and he didn't like the trees or the coffee. He now knew that impossible horrors lurked behind the storefronts and smiles. He desperately wanted to turn the car around and just drive until he passed out or ran out of road and booze. But he had a job to do. He had a rider to catch, at any cost.
Yeah, so he's the FBI agent that's coming into town after a week of Alice and Alan missing, and he's suspecting that Alan is a killer and killed his wife here on a getaway, so he's angry about it. Plus, he didn't want to be there, like they said, he's a drunk and all that. A great FBI agent for sure.
On more than one occasion, Alice had tried to explain to me how it felt to be afraid of the dark. To her, darkness wasn't simply the absence of light, but something more tangible than that. It was something you could touch and feel. Worse than that, it was something with a mind of its own, something malicious and malign. For her, things changed when they were wrapped in darkness. They turned into something else, something foreign. and nothing was safe or innocent anymore. I'd never really understood what she meant until now.
So basically, Alice always feared the darkness, and she knew that in her imagination of it, it could be a powerful tool. And Alan was finding that out himself firsthand in this whole experience with the Taken. And we don't even know what the darkness really is. We don't even know if it's true darkness or what it is. Is it an entity or what's going on? We have no idea. We just found out that the lake is a fucking ocean, so we have no idea what the true capabilities of this darkness is and why it's trapped down there. But all we know is it started when that volcano happened.
The night had been one desperate situation after another. I was exhausted, and my body felt as though it had been chewed up and spat out. The flashlight was heavy in my hand, and each pull of the trigger sent a painful shock up my arm. But I was finally out of the woods, and things were looking up. That's when I heard the chainsaw.
Just one of the moments where you run into the chainsaw guys in the woods, the Taken chainsaw people, the big dudes.
When Barry saw the darkness attack the visitor center, it made him a believer. The men Al said he'd shot, they hadn't been just locals on crank. Somehow the world had changed, like the channel had been switched without warning. You think you're watching a sitcom, and you're really watching a horror show. When the birds started attacking the cabin, Barry wasn't surprised, just terrified.
That's when Barry was left up on top of the hill, that cabin, to wait for Alan to go see if Alice was being, the exchange, the manuscript pages. And then he started to become a believer, seeing the Taken around the area, doing things. He was starting to believe Alan.
The FBI agent's command froze me in place. I considered surrender. It was all falling apart anyway. I could give in, let someone else deal with it. But it felt all wrong. Call it instinct, his posture, the way he held the gun. He was no friend. Shots ringing in my ears, I leaped for the hole in the fence and stumbled into the darkness beyond.
So, pretty much here, this is when the FBI agent Nightingale guy starts firing at Alan as soon as he sees him. Just craziness. Being reckless. And Alan was contemplating whether he should just turn himself in and let someone else deal with this problem. But in all reality, he's still trapped down in that lake. This is all a story that he's writing out.
The dark presence had touched the girl to lure the writer into a trap. Now it was night, and he lay helpless, drugged, lit only by the flickering of the TV screen filled with static. Shadows coalesced in the room as the dark presence leaned close to the writer, ready to touch him again. Back to work, boy.
Yes, in this page we're seeing Alan still singing that typewriter, and the dark presence, that Barbara Jagger entity, is telling him to keep typing, keep writing, because she wants to be free.
Rose knew that Rusty was in love with her, and she liked him too. She liked him a lot. He taught her to dance, and life had certainly taught her the value of a man who was gentle. He treated her well, made her smile, made her feel good. But Rusty wasn't the prince of her dreams, and that tended to underline the unbearable truth. She was no closer to that Hollywood magic than he was.
He was still obsessed with Alan Wake. She can't let go of Alan's obsession.
Nobody in Bright Falls seemed to know where Al was, but Rose, the waitress at the diner, had seen him. From what Barry could tell, Al pretty much fell off the face of the earth when he left the diner. Rose was just the kind of fan that Al hated, but she really tried to help. She was smart too, knew a lot about what was going on in the town, knew a lot about Al, even knew who Barry was. Barry liked her. That was no big surprise. When it came to women, Barry and Al rarely saw eye to eye. Sarah didn't care about the legal threats Wake's agent had made. She let Wake go without argument, because there was something about him she couldn't quite put her finger on, something that reminded her of her father. She didn't think Wake would hurt his wife. Then she thought about the way he waded into Hartman, that hair-trigger rage flaring up without warning.
So here, Sarah Brigger, the sheriff of the Bright Falls, she felt like a connection to Alan Wake because this whole craziness that Alan Wake was explaining to them about the darkness and all this stuff and the cabin being there, but it actually wasn't there, it reminded her of her father, and that's a hint for another game, and it'll make more sense later. So that's why she sympathized a little bit for Alan Wake and kind of like believed him at first, like, okay, maybe he's telling the truth. But then she saw how angry he was when he punched Dr. Harmon in the nose. So she started questioning herself, like, should I let him go? Was it the right thing to do? Is he actually a killer, or is he something actually is happening here? Just like, you know, the stuff that I know about my father.
The logging site was a mess. The modular office had been pushed off the cliff. Deputy Thornton climbed up from the wreckage excited, breathing hard from the exertion. Nobody there. It's weird. Don't you think that's weird? Bored, Mulligan let out a mighty snort. Hell, it's always weird, Thornton. Just a question of sorting out what kind of weird it is this time around.
So basically, Sarah told a deputy, Thornton and Mulligan, to go investigate Alan's tracks. So they're picking up the pieces of Alan Wake's journey along the way. That's what they're doing.
Shadows stirred and the wind picked up as I ran through the forest. I felt the dark presence turning its gaze toward me. Then the moonlight was blotted out by dark shadows that raced violently across the ground, moving too swiftly to be natural. Darkness gathered between the trees and melted again to reveal the Taken. No natural path had brought them here.
This is explain how they move around through the woods. The darkness, the Taken.
There was no misunderstanding. Cauldron Lake was where Alice and I had stayed, but there was no cabin and no island. I was missing a week. What had happened to me? What had happened to Alice? I had to get her back. I couldn't face life without her.
Yeah, it's the end of the episode 2.
Mr. Randolph liked Rose. That little smile she had. How she was still sweet when life had tried so hard to make her bitter. It wasn't any of his business what she did in her trailer. But those strangers, the writer and his smart-ass sidekick, looked like trouble. And they'd been in there for hours, way past her normal bedtime. He reached for the phone and called the sheriff's station.
That's the landlord of the trailer park being worried about Rose being in that house, in her house with Alan and Barry for too long. That's when they discovered that it was a trap. They got knocked out by the coffee.
For decades, the darkness that wore Barbara Jagger's skin slept fitfully in the dark place that was its home and prison. It was hungry and in pain. It dreamed of its nights of glory when the poet's writing had called it from the depths and given it a brief, terrible taste of power and freedom. The rock stars had stirred it from the deep sleep the poet had sunk it back to in the end. When it sensed the writer on the ferry, it opened its eyes.
So here we're seeing that the entity that took over the Barbara Jagger was weak, and it's explaining how the poet, which is Thomas Zane, had let it out for a little bit, and it felt power and it was almost free. And the rock stars, which is the old gods of Asgard, the two old dudes, their music helped it also give it more power, and then they got pushed back down by Thomas Zane in his final attempt by erasing himself the story. So they were so close to being free from that lake, and then years later, Alan Wake comes to town, and that's when the darkness opens its eyes again. It's like, lusting for release because it knows that a new creator is in town. They can use it as, a doorway to get out.
Nightingale stared through the broken studio window into the dark woods. He turned around, started to walk out, but Maine grabbed his arm. "Young man, you almost shot me. You don't shoot off rounds at people like that. What's the matter with you?" Nightingale shook his arm free, marched out. His cheeks burned with rage and humiliation.
That's when Alan Wake went to the radio station and he got shot at from Nightingale, and they almost hit that old dude, the radio guy. The radio guy was pretty pissed at the FBI agent for firing shots so close to his head.
Sarah trusted her gut, and her gut said Agent Nightingale was an asshole. He felt wrong, and it wasn't just the smell of stale booze. It was in the way he flashed his badge, pulled rank, the look in his eyes when he wanted answers. Where was Alan Wake? What was this about an accident? Where was his wife? And most importantly, why did she let Wake go? He wouldn't answer her questions. Federal business was all he'd say.
Federal business. There you go, the two different branches of authority getting mad at each other over the whole situation.
The pipe wrenched itself loose from the bridge's steel framework. Wrapped in darkness, it floated in midair, twitching. For a moment, I didn't understand what I was looking at. The heavy object lurched at me with impossible force. I threw myself out of the way, but just barely. When I turned my flashlight on it, it shook in a dark rage before it flew at me again.
So basically, this page is describing that not only can the darkness take over people and turn them into Taken, but it could also take over objects and make them levitate and try to, stop whatever it wants to do and destroy anything. That's how powerful this darkness is.
I slammed the door shut right in his smug face. He pleaded for me to open the door. True to form, the asshole actually thought I would obey. I had no sympathy left, no guilt either, not for him. I took a moment to savor the scream. I bet I had a smile on my face. It was all that I had time for. The dark presence was inside the lodge with me.
This page right here describes the dark presence was coming for Alan, and he trapped Dr. Hartman in the office room with the darkness, and it took over, Dr. Hartman. He's like screaming for help, like, open the door, let me out. And Alan didn't give a crap. He let the dark presence take him.
The darkness surged towards me, sucking everything loose from the ground into its depths, tugging at my clothes. I saw the flare the kidnapper had dropped and threw myself towards it just as I felt my feet leave the ground. The darkness embraced me with the force of a tornado. Somehow I managed to light the flare. The darkness roared and cast me away. I fell toward the dark waters of the lake far below.
This is when he went to go meet the kidnapper and discovered that there was no Alice to be found, and then the darkness took over Mott, the kidnapper, and tried to take Alan with it. And Alec fell down into the lake with the flare. Which I don't know why the darkness would want to take Alan down too, if it's trying to use Alan to write him out of the out of the lake. So I don't understand that part, but
Rose didn't know how the strange old lady got in her trailer, and she looked wrong somehow. The woman showed her teeth in an approximation of a smile and traced a finger down Rose's cheek. "Pretty girl," she said. Rose felt as if she was falling asleep, but her knees didn't buckle. The crone spoke in a whisper, her words ice cold and dark in Rose's ear.
That's when Barbara Jagger's entity went to visit Rose and took her over to trap Alan at the trailer park.
Touched by the dark presence, Rose was lost in a dreamland where everything was drawn in black and gray crayons. The old lady had promised her that all her wishes would come true. She would be Alan Wake's muse. She was smiling so hard it hurt her face. She crushed a bottle full of sleeping pills into the coffee. Deep down inside, she was screaming in terror.
So here we go, we get what it's like to be in the mind of somebody who's being consumed by the Taken.
Danny had stepped out, but what stumbled back in was something else, something alien, a monster. Walter tried to kill it, first with his fists, then a chair. It wouldn't die. Instead, it kept coming, unaffected by the beating it had taken. After Walter managed to kick it down the cellar stairs, fear took over. He ran, got behind the wheel, gunned the engine. The booze wouldn't make him forget, but he knew he had to try.
So this is those two friends, one of them that you find in jail. There's the two friends who got one of them got taken over by the Taken, and they lived close by the Andersons, and he knew that the moonshine from the lake would help him. So he had to drive all the way over to get that moonshine and try to save his friend from being consumed by the Taken.
The bulldozer's engine roared to life. Mud and rocks flew as it fought for traction. It crashed through the concrete wall and landed heavily in the yard. If it were an animal, it would have shaken its head after the impact, fixed its eyes on me, and charged. Of course, it had no head, nor eyes. Shadows crawled on its form, twisting it into a monster. Then, it came for me.
Pretty much describing that the Dark Presence could also take over giant objects like bulldozers and control them. That's why you see in the game fighting like giant machinery and shit. Okay, this is one of the nightmare pages.
Even after all this time, hearing the Night Springs theme caused a surge of conflicting emotions in me. It'd been my first real writing gig. Barry had known a guy who knew a guy, and suddenly I'd been a semi-regular writer on the show. I'd always been ashamed of the job. Felt it was trash. I'd wanted to be an artist, a novelist. I'd been naive back then. It had taken a long time to learn to be proud of the work.
Basically, throughout the game, you see that Night Springs show appearing like a Twilight. It's like a Twilight show, Twilight Zone version of this universe. And pretty much Alan used to be a writer on one of the episodes. So why he's seen the Night Springs episodes throughout the show, throughout the story, I don't know. But like some of these little short stories kind of mirror future games and things that are happening to him as well during that event. But he's seen all the Night Springs episodes as he goes through his journey, and there'll be more of that you'll see other games.
With Nightingale gone and the night wind blowing in through the broken studio window, Maine stared at Sarah. The sheriff looked away. Maine's voice shook with barely controlled anger. That boy's doing more drinking than thinking. I hope you know what you're doing, Sarah. He's got a sickness in his eyes. You take my word for it. He wants Wake for a reason, and it's not for anything good.
That's the radio host telling Sarah, Sheriff Breaker, Sarah, whatever, that Agent Nightingale FBI guy is just crazy, out of control. She better watch out with him, because she might be next. He could probably shoot her in the crossfire too.
When Thomas Zane fell for Barbara Jagger, it happened fast. She was young, vibrant, and beautiful, full of life. He had never been a very happy man, and without any seeming effort, she had changed all that. Zane felt good for the first time in his life. Everything she did was another piece of a jigsaw puzzle he hadn't even known he'd been missing. And best of all, she made the words flow, strong and sharp. She was his muse.
Pretty much this is Zane finally feeling happy that he met somebody through Barbara Jagger, and how she inspired him to write more of his poems and all that. And he's just happy with her. Just letting us know that they're happy.
Some of the Taken retained echoes of their former selves, but these were just the nerve twitches of a dead thing. Nothing remained but a shell covered and filled with darkness. In most cases, these puppets were enough for the purposes of the Dark Presence. But for anything more elaborate, as with the writer, it was different. It needed his mind. And so rather than taking him over completely, it merely touched him.
So here we're describing how powerful the Dark Presence is, that when it takes over people and they become a Taken, they're like husks, just little soldiers to do certain tasks. In this case, it was the task of trying to stop Alan from getting to the truth. And, but then it says that the Dark Presence, when it sees as someone creative, it barely touches them, and it only consumes their mind to use them for, nefarious reasons, like get out of the lake and all that.
I stared through the bars of the jail cell. Barry stood behind me, swaying on his feet, looking as ill as I felt. Agent Nightingale stood on the other side of the bars with Sheriff Breaker. Nightingale had a stack of manuscript pages in his hand. He seemed unhinged as he gloated. "Well, I've got you now, Raymond Chandler. It's all here. All the evidence, including conspiracy to murder a federal agent."
That's when they were trapped in the cells, and FBI Nightingale had found more manuscript pages, and he thought that was all the proof he needed to put Alan Wake away forever.
Things were never as simple in real life as in fiction. I had lost count of the times I had wished there'd be a clear reason for my writer's block, something to fight, something to lash out on. There wasn't. I was filled with doubt. I was nothing like the hero in my books. Alex Casey had gone through his life with single-minded determination, never wavering from his goal. Even now, I was angry at myself, angry at Alice, angry at Barry. I was fumbling and I had no plan.
This is Alan Wake wishing he was more like his character that he created, Alex Casey / Max Payne. Pretty much saying Max Payne was always focused and determined to get his goals done, or he was just, frustrated at the world. Because you gotta remember, he was like he wanted to be taken so serious as a writer, and he would party up with all these fancy people and these clubs and stuff, and he would come home drunk and angry at the world and angry at himself, and he wanted to be taken serious. He didn't want to be taken as like a joke writer, like when he did that Night Springs episode. So here he's still angry about having to deal with the whole situation, and he's angry at Alice for taking him to the vacation. He's mad at Barry. He's for not listening to him at first, and he's questioning him, his insanity. So he's trying to be the hero at the same time, but also frustrated about himself and everybody around him. And he was wishing he's more like his character Max Payne.
Even behind the closed doors and curtains of his grimy room at the Majestic, the local motel, Nightingale could feel the locals' eyes on him, the unrelenting pressure of their judgment. He forced it out of his mind. For all he knew, they could all be under Wake's spell already. You do what you have to do to get the job done. He took comfort from the bottle in his hand. Please, he thought, just let me get through this.
I don't remember if it tells us why he's so psychotic, this FBI agent, but it's pretty crazy.
Maud had checked all of Stucky's rental cabins. There had been no sign of the Wakes. It was dark when he'd found their car parked at the end of the road by Cauldron Lake. It made no sense. They must have taken a wrong turn, but there was no sign of them, and the car had been there for hours already. Frustrated, Mott stood on the rotten ruin of the footbridge that had once led to Diver's Isle before it sank beneath the waves years ago. The boss wouldn't be happy.
Mott was the kidnapper, and Dr. Hartman told him to go snatch up Alice and Alan. But when he finally found them, because he checked all the hotels, he finally found them at the lake. He just saw the car, because that's all there is. There is no island, there is no cabin there. So he's like puzzled, like, where the hell are they? They were down there.
I tried to hold on to Alice, but her form melted away. I was losing control. Dr. Hartman stood in her place. I wanted to hit him, but my arms were jelly. He smiled. It was a reassuring smile, and I hated him for it. "I had to give you a sedative. Don't fight it. You went through another rough period. Right now, it's very important that you stay calm. We don't want you to have another episode. You're a patient at my clinic. Have been for a while now."
This is the moment where you find out Dr. Emil Hartman is trying to trick Alan, making him think he's been there for a long time as a patient. But we find out that's not true.
For Mott, spying on the writer on the ferry had been a disappointment. His boss had made Wake out to be something special, but Mott hadn't been impressed. He'd gotten a good long look at the wife, though, and he liked what he saw. Mott had fantasized about goading Wake into a fight, but it hadn't happened. Still, he'd get his chance to see if the writer had anything in him. He'd been promised as much.
So that's when the kidnapper Maud's on the ferry at the very beginning. She's scoping out Alice and Alan, just saying like, this guy ain't all cracked up what he used to be. Like, what's so special about him? But Hartman knew he was special because he was a writer. And if you remember, we find out later that Hartman was the assistant of Zane, and he encouraged him to keep writing his poems. So it's like, did Hartman know about the lake even back then? Did he force Zane to and Barbara to go to the lake? Like, we don't know that yet. We don't know what he knows yet.
The hunters were big, thick-set men, confident and at home in the woods. They were feeling good, running on beer, ghost stories, and camaraderie late into the night. It did them no good, as they were taken by the dark presence, sucked deep into a darkness far worse than any ghost story they ever told or heard.
This is pretty much describing all those taken that fight in the woods. They're with either workers that were cutting down trees or hunters in the woods. Like, as big as and strong as they were no match for the taken, for the darkness. They'd be consumed by them. That's why you see me fight a lot of those construction workers and all that in the woods all the time. Because the woods is just, the darkness is taking everybody out in the woods along its path. Okay, here's one of the two nightmare.
Doc sat down heavily. He examined Barry and Rose. Barry was already recovering. Rose was another story. She was conscious, but she was barely present, almost delirious, disturbed, touched in the head, they used to say. It wasn't the first time Doc had seen someone in such a state, but it had been over 30 years. Doc poured himself a stiff drink. He hadn't forgotten a thing.
Well, this is something we don't see during the game. This is after the cops take over the trailer park and Alan escapes, and they take Barry and Rose, who were knocked out by Barbara Jagger's presence, whatever. And the doctor is checking on them, and obviously Rose is more screwed up than Barry because she got touched by the Barbara Jagger entity, whatever. And the doc realizes this is something that happened 30 years ago, probably back during Thomas Zane or the old gods of Asgard days when they were dealing with the darkness.
I lifted the page in front of my eyes and read it. In it, I lifted the page in front of my eyes and read it. In it, I lifted the page in front of my eyes and read it. In it, I lifted the page in front of my eyes and read it. In it, I lifted the page in front of my eyes and read it. In it, I lifted the page in front of my eyes and read it.
This is Alan freaking out when he's picking up these pages and reading them and discovering that he's in a loop of trying to get out of this. Like everything that's happening to him is in a page, and he's freaking out about it because he's reading off the page. And last one.
Lightning flashed behind the windows of Cauldron Lake Lodge. Tor Anderson laughed and held the steel hammer above his head. Nurse Sinclair was trying to calm him down without success. Tor grinned madly and shouted, "My hammer's up. Here's a friendly poke from Molnir, wench." He brought the hammer down with all his might on Sinclair's head. "We're on a comeback tour, baby."
That's when they tried to break out of the Lake Lodge, whatever. The Tor Anderson brothers, and Tor knocked out the nurse with the hammer. I don't know if she died or what, but he hit her in the head with a hammer. So, who knows? Okay, episode 4.
Zane could feel the poems, taking form, shaping things. As he experimented, he imagined he could almost feel the power surging through the keys of the typewriter. It exhilarated him. But there was fear, too. If not for his young assistant Emil, he would have given it up. But Emil convinced him otherwise. He, too, had a way with words.
So pretty much, Emil, or Dr. Harmon is kind of hinted that he knew about the lake and its power, and he's like forcing Zane to write as well. Forced him to write in the real world, and then when he gets trapped down there, he's forced to write again from the Barbara Jagger's entity. He was screwed either way.
Hartman kept talking, giving Barry the grand tour, clearly proud of the place. He went on and on about his hunting trophies, and Barry was impressed. But he was here on business. He raised his voice, cut through the monologue. "Hey, Hartman, where's Al?" Hartman stopped in mid-sentence, annoyed at the interruption. He nodded at the hulking orderly standing nearby. The man smiled and clapped a practiced hand on Barry's shoulder.
That's when Barry went to go find Alan because he went missing again, and he discovers that Alan got trapped there, and then he locks Barry in the office wing, whatever, to hold him off. Who knows what they were gonna do to Barry? But yeah, that's what happens there.
Hartman followed the fall of Alan Wake with his binoculars. When the rider hit the water, he ordered Jack to take the boat to him. The spot was easy to see in the dark, even with all the extra lights in the boat. The flare floated and kept burning even in the water. Jack turned the radio louder as the engine sputtered. The music was rough and clanking, something the Anderson brothers would no doubt have enjoyed. But Hartman chose to ignore it. Wake was finally within his reach.
So when the kidnapper went down in the water with Alan, the tornado, Hartman was above on the cliff on the lounge watching with binoculars, and he told his bodyguard, Jack guy, to go fetch him and bring him to the lounge.
Hartman knew he was no creator. He had no ambitions on that front, and he certainly didn't want to end up like every artist he had worked with here, damaged in ways that were hard to describe, or worse. It was enough for Hartman to maintain creative control and provide direction, to be a producer. That was what most of these people were in need of anyway. Of course, suitable subjects were few and far in between.
So that's just describing Hartman's wishes to produce their powers with the lake, because he knew. I think it's implied that he knows. He knows about the lake and its power, and all the creators that he tried to use to get to the lake and harness its energy. And he knows that he couldn't do it himself, even though he was a doctor and he wrote books. He didn't have that creative genius like they did.
I stared at the Viking paraphernalia that littered the area, surrounding an unlikely centerpiece. A full-size stage complete with an impressive sound system with all the trimmings, including a dragon. It took a special kind of crazy to build something like this in a remote field. When the sky split open with a deafening boom and the music started blasting, it felt strangely appropriate.
Talking about the Anderson farm and how they have a whole stage set up in a concert.
For the moment, Barry was just glad he had survived the fall. He had been separated from Al, and there was no easy way to climb back up. He told himself he'd be okay in the gloomy forest at night. He would just have to wait for a while for Al to find his way down. Barry turned when he heard the heavy footsteps and saw the movement. The man-shaped shadow lunged at him from the bushes, an axe held high. Barry screamed and threw up his hand. The world exploded.
It's when they crash and Barry's by himself down there in the Anderson farm area trying to survive from all the taken.
Mott knew that Wake was smarter than him. Wake had more money, a beautiful wife, everything. And Hartman said Wake was important. That made him better than Mott. But Mott was calling the shots now. He'd expected Wake to whimper and grovel, but instead, he seemed willing to fight. Mott knew he'd gotten under Wake's skin. If only Mott actually had his wife. The thought made him shiver.
So Mott Knapperish was starting to see how serious and dangerous Alan could be when he's determined. And now he was starting to ship bricks because he didn't actually have Alan's wife to bargain.
Hartman wasn't happy. Mott could see it in his eyes. He quickly lowered his own. He had made a mess of it, and he knew it. The shame of failure was hard to bear. He hadn't expected Wake to say he needed more time, and he blurted out 2 days, less than Wake had asked for to show him who was in charge. But that wasn't part of Hartman's plan.
See, Hartman wanted those pages, those final manuscript pages. And I guess to test the power of the lake, he wanted the presence, dark presence, to come out of that lake, and he wanted those final pages. That's why he was forcing Mott to kidnap Alice and for ransom, even though they didn't even have Alice. He wanted to bait out those pages out of Alan. And the Barbara Jagger, the entity on the other side, also wanted Alan to finish writing those final pages so she can be free. So they're both wanting the same thing from Alan from two different sides. Meanwhile, Alan hasn't even finished writing the pages yet. He's still going through the story himself.
Hartman hurried down the corridor. He had disliked leaving Wake when he was surely at his most susceptible to therapy. But this was not an ordinary storm. Wake had been writing, and he had woken something up in the depths of the lake. Now, it was coming for him. Hartman had naturally prepared for a situation like this. The idiot brothers would keep Wake distracted while Hartman double-checked everything, just to be sure.
Now, what he prepared for this moment, we don't know yet, because we see him get taken over by the Dark Presence himself. But pretty much, he was so close to getting those pages out of Alan when he discovered it's too late. The darkness is coming now for us all.
Hartman watched as Wake's features slackened. The man was bullheaded, no doubt. Even lying on the bed, he'd almost broken Hartman's nose the second time. But with a little time, he could break Wake down, give him proper direction. Wake was easily the most promising subject he had had. Well, since Tom, really. "Sleep well, Alan," Hartman whispered with a smile. "Let me take care of you." He sniffed hard to clear his throbbing nose, swallowed blood, and barely tasted it.
So this is Hartman holding back, restraining himself, even though Alan punched him in the nose, almost broke his nose. He's looking at the further future goal of trying to use the power of the lake. So he's just like so excited that Alan's there. And he finally is so close to getting those final pages. Something he failed to do with Thomas Zane, because Thomas Zane got consumed by the darkness. And then gave himself up to the darkness by writing himself out of existence, which shut Dr. Hartman out as well from seeing the full power of the darkness.
Agent Nightingale stared at the passed-out writer. The man was sleeping off one hell of a night. Nightingale felt a stab of envy at Wake's oblivion, but he had a job to do. He put the gun to Wake's head and almost became a murderer. His hand shook and his throat felt tight and dry. Biting his teeth, he tried again to pull the trigger. He lost the nerve. Wake stirred. Nightingale would have to settle for an arrest.
Just the anger that Nightingale has for Alan Wake. I still don't understand what his anger is with him.
The storm raged on as the Anderson brothers walked unsteadily away from the clinic with the other patients in tow, knowing that this time they wouldn't return. The darkness around them seethed with horrors, but Tor and Odin were unafraid. Their eyes glinted with guile. They knew every secret path, and there was blood on their hands. They had fought these shades before.
So, when the darkness is going to take over the whole lounge with the rest of the patients, the Anderson brothers weren't afraid. It's pretty much describing they have fought the darkness before, and they knew their secret path, and they knew ways out of the darkness, because they had blood on their hands. So it's almost like they know their way around the bottom of the lake. That's kind of what it's hinting at. And we also see them later at the end of the game. They're survived. They're okay. Because Alan didn't kill them either. So, but it's pretty much hinting at they know their way around the darkness. That's why they're kind of like psychotic and crazy. You gotta also remember they were using the lake's water as moonshine to drink and party with. So almost like they became part of the lake in a sense. Like they understood it better than most people. And if only Alan spent more time with them, and if they would have remembered more, Alan would have probably had more knowledge about the darkness.
The dark presence followed the choreography laid out to it in the manuscript, growing stronger and stronger, moving like a storm from one scene of destruction to the next. But it was still bound to follow the story and chained to the dark place it came from. When the story reached the end it longed for, it would finally be free.
So basically it's saying the dark presence cannot act and do things out of the story. It can't just take off and go across the country or across the world and do other stuff. It has to stay within the story of Alan Wake's words and typing. So it's bound to the Alan Wake's typing. And it's pretty much seeding at the moment that Alan finishes the story so he could finally be free. But little did we know, Alan sacrificed himself to hold back the darkness again.
It's 1976. Madness reigns at the Anderson farm. Contrary to all logic, the headiest ingredient of their moonshine is unfiltered water from Cauldron Lake. The Andersons feel like gods. Odin can't stop laughing. He contemplates cutting his eye out. Tor runs across the field, naked, shrieking, hammer in his hand, trying to catch lightning. Their songs have power. Something ancient is stirring in the depths, coming back.
Well, all the songs they were writing while drinking and getting high off this moonshine was helping them write magic, pretty much, the lake. And they were stirring up the powers of the lake. Every time they wrote songs and drank the moonshine, they felt like gods. And also the Poets of the Fall, two of the members of Poets of the Fall, they play the roles of the old gods of Asgard, which is kind of cool. The Anderson brothers are the old gods of Asgard. The band name Old Gods of Asgard, because they felt like gods. Okay,
Again, Alice's screams rang in the stillness of the night. I saw myself run toward the cabin, flashlight in my hand. I followed my past self. I was an out-of-body observer, a time traveler in a crazy drunken dream. This was the beginning. The night Alice had disappeared. The mystery of what had happened during the missing week was about to reveal itself.
So here he is in this. While Alan Wake is down there writing this story, it's pretty much saying that he is like having an outer body experience. He's like a time traveler. His body, he's like I don't know if you want to call it spiritual, whatever it is. His his body is out there about in the forest and doing things, interacting with real people, but he's actually trapped down in the lake this whole entire time of the video game. But he's having an out-of-body experience out there fighting the darkness as he goes along the story. So once he jumped in that lake at the very beginning, he's never left it. He's been down there ever since, and his outer body was out there doing stuff, trying to stop all the story from happening. Or he was also trying to pick up the pages to remember the story.
When he stopped the car at the Anderson farm, Walter felt relieved. Oblivion was close at hand. The brothers wouldn't miss a jar of moonshine or two in the booby hatch. But then he saw the man on the porch, and he knew who it was. Driving for his life and knowing it was useless, he didn't realize he was crying until he couldn't see the road for the tears.
So this is those two friends that one of them's trying to save his friend with moonshine from the Anderson's farm. They live down the road. As he gets to the Anderson farm, he discovers that the friends there, I guess, the taken friend was watching him, so he's like screaming and crying for help. So he has to rush. He's like rushing back to his house. That's where you find him dying at the house, and then the taken friend tries to attack you. Okay, it's a page from Nightmare Mode.
Hartman had never felt as anxious as during the week after Maud had managed to lose the Wakes. Their car stood by the path that had once led to Diver's Isle. Hartman thought about Thomas Zane's cabin in the depths. It was only a matter of time before Wake started writing. They had to be found, and fast. The moment he heard on the police radio that Sheriff Breaker had picked up Wake, he was already in his car driving toward town.
So basically, it's saying that Hartman heard that Alan came out of the water, and he went straight to the police station to pick him up, because you gotta remember, Alan, when he was down there in the darkness and the cabin, he discovered that he was in a story, so he wrote himself out of the story, and that's how he got out of the lake the first time. And he's out there, in Bright Falls trying to pick up the pieces, what's going on, but he's finding out that everybody in town is like actors in a play, including himself. So he's picking up pages of the manuscript that he wrote, that he forgot that he wrote, to get himself out. And it isn't until later he discovers that these pages are actually a horror story. So he has to ride himself back down into the lake to save Alice and sacrifice himself.
For a moment, Hartman considered strangling the idiot. Mott was mean-spirited, but easily manipulated, an emotional infant who lived for his approval. Wake, by contrast, was a far more difficult subject. Mott had given him too much leash. In 2 days, who knew what could happen? Hartman would have to find a way to rein him in, and quickly.
So it's just Hartman being mad at Mott for screwing up the first attempt to take Alan to the lounge, and he's mad about it because he knows he's running out of time before Alan discovers that he's in a horror story of his own work, and he knows that Alan will soon try to find a way back to the lake to, fix everything again. So he's got a very short time window to get Alan before it's too late. That's just him being mad at Mott for screwing up the first time.
Deputy Mulligan tuned Thornton's chatter out. He didn't think writers were particularly useful people, and a huge manhunt for one struck him as idiotic. Certainly not worth the missed opportunity for coffee and pie. It wasn't even clear what the man had done, except run from them at the trailer park. Mulligan knew he wasn't alone. The sheriff's patience with the Fed was running out.
So that's just the two cops, Mulligan and Thornton, getting over each other and dealing with all of Alan Wake's shenanigans outside Bright Falls as he picks up the pieces of what's going on.
As the deputies hauled Wake and Wheeler away, Agent Nightingale eagerly examined the stack of papers Wake had been carrying. It was incomplete, a collection of random pages, but there was enough. He saw his own name in there, among others. His hands shook with emotion. Finally, it was proof. He had been right all along.
Boy, was he wrong. Okay, next episode.
Nightingale tried to make sense of the manuscript. It was disjointed and strange. He didn't understand half of it, but it all rang true. Impossibly true. He took out his hip flask when he reached the page that described how he reached the page that made him take out his hip flask. It wasn't the booze that made his mind reel.
So now we're hearing Nightingale have that same realization moment that the pages are happening in real time. With the story, the same way Alan Wake picked up the page and looked at it and picked up the page. So it's like they're both having that moment that they're in a story, and it's freaking them out. It's shattering their whole mind of reality.
Nightingale felt the situation veering out of his control, but the gun at least felt steady in his hands. He was ready to fire, resolved that he would let this happen over his dead body. And yet he hesitated. He had seen this moment before, read it in the page. He was transfixed by the déjà vu and the horror that he was a character in a story someone had written. Then the monstrous presence burst in behind him and dragged him into the night.
So yeah, he had read his own demise, and then he's like seen it play out as he read it. So he's freaking out when he sees that the darkness is coming for him, just as he read the page before.
The darkness that wore Barbara Jagger's face was furious. The story in the manuscript had been making it stronger all the time, but now the light had set the writer free and hurt it, weakened it. It was only a matter of days before the dark presence would be strong again, but meanwhile, it would be difficult to recapture the writer.
So here, this is when Thomas Zane came in. He's the light, and he got Alan Wake to remember what was happening and helped him write himself out into the real world. So he pretty much, Tom Zane bought Alan Wake some time by pushing him out into the real world to put the pieces together to figure out that this is a horror story that he's in. But unfortunately, Alan chose the same path and chose to sacrifice himself this time for his wife, whereas Thomas Zane, he tried to take both him and his wife out, but it wasn't going to work. There needs to be balance in the poems. That's where he decided to say, well, I can't figure it out. I'll let somebody else figure it out for me. So I'll just write myself out of existence. Only through these little notes and shoeboxes. And unfortunately, Alan couldn't figure out his way out either of happiness. And the only way he could be happy is knowing that Alice is free. So he trapped himself in the darkness and let Alice escape. So now we're going down to Cynthia's word.
Cynthia Weaver worked hard, following her obsessive rituals, sometimes fighting them, always giving in to them in the end. She haunted the halls of Bright Falls abandoned power plant. She marked her caches with light-sensitive paint that could only be seen by eyes that had been touched by darkness and saved by light like she'd been. She was preparing defenses and supply lines for the war she knew would come. The war between the forces of light and darkness.
So here we see that she was also touched by the darkness back in the day, and it implies that Thomas Zane saved her because he kind of used her as a failsafe option. And he saved her with light and told her, these notes that you're going to carry on my work and prepare for this war that's going to come decades later with another hero, which is Alan. And she had fought it for a while to not follow his notes and his rituals, but then at the end she kept doing it because she still loved Thomas Zane. Just like Rose loves Alan. It's like a foreshadowing, kind of like a mirrored thing, where history kind of repeats itself.
For it to be free, the Dark Presence needed the writer to finish the story. Again and again, the story let it get frustratingly close to the writer without letting it capture him. It was bound by the events depicted in the manuscript, but it could pursue the writer indirectly, put others on the task, and stop those who would help him. It took over everything in its path, made them its puppets, and sent them after Alan Wake.
See, only Alan and the Darkness are both bound to the story that Alan wrote that week before. So Alan cannot act outside of the norm of the story. He has to follow the story as it goes along, his actions, just like the Darkness is stuck to the actions of the story as well. So both Alan and the Darkness and Hartman are all wanting the story to end in their own way. So they've got three different things, and Thomas Zane as well. So you got four different forces all pulling for Alan Wake to finish the story in their version. But we all know the version Alan chose. Alan chose to sacrifice himself.
Alice had screamed until she had no voice left to scream. Around her, the darkness was alive. It was cold and wet and malevolent and without end. She was a prisoner, trapped in the dark place. The terror would have burned her mind out, but one thing made her hang on. She could sense Alan in the dark. She could hear him. She could see the words he was writing as flickering shadows. He sensed her too. He was trying to work his way to her.
So it's like they're describing what it's like to be down in the darkness, and it's like two blind mice. They could smell each other, but they can't see each other. And she was seeing the words from the typewriter, those bright light words. She was seeing words that he was typing along the way in the darkness, although they couldn't get to each other. Kind of terrifying to think about that. So she knew he was working towards getting her out of there, both out of there. That was keeping her going as she was down there in this depths of whatever you want to call water.
Barry was in his element, making calls, making things happen, even if he didn't entirely know what those things were. He wouldn't let the hot sheriff chick down. Even if every noise he heard from outside, and he heard plenty, made him jump. He had only paused to text Al a message, told him to hurry up. Suddenly, Barry froze in mid-dial. A window broke somewhere in the building, and then the lights went out.
That's when Barry was making all the calls, emergency calls to the town and to Sheriff Sarah Breaker's dad about the Night Springs Code and what to do. Like pretty much like a safety word for like, oh, something's gonna happen crazy. I need your help, Dad, and something that I guess the dad had prepared for years before, in case something ever happened to Sarah in the town. He would have that code word to know when it was time to act. So we don't know what that code word represents and what it's going to mean for the future, but that's all we know so far on that. The code word was Night Springs.
Barry got back to his feet inside the Bright Falls General Store and dusted himself off. Right next to the cans of baked beans was a locked case filled with flare guns, and yet here was a conveniently placed barrel of crowbars. Barry's smile widened as he realized that this was the classic movie scene where the hero had to gear up and arm himself to the teeth. Barry threw himself into the role.
It's just Barry getting hyped up and putting on those lights around his waist, those Christmas lights. He's pretty much becoming a hero himself in his own head to fight off the darkness.
The story I had written in the cabin had come true. Touched by the dark presence, I had written a horror story, but the end was still missing. The story was incomplete, and the last unfinished page of the manuscript still sat in the typewriter in the cabin study. If I could get back there, if I could read the page, then I could write my own ending to this story and save Alice.
Unfortunately, it came with the cost of sacrificing himself. So it wasn't the ending that Tom Zane wanted. It wasn't the true ending that Alan Wake wanted. It definitely wasn't the ending that Emil Hartman, Dr. Hartman wanted, or the Dark Presence. But it was the only way for Alan to get Alice out of there was to write himself down and sacrifice himself. Because a horror story has got to have an ending, but a true ending. You can't just have I guess there has to be balance. There has to be balance. It couldn't be a story where they all got out and everything's happy and the sun shines and rainbows. It had to have a true, well-written ending. Something Thomas Zane could not figure out with his poems.
Sarah was almost starting to relax. Maybe they could turn this into a win yet. Suddenly, there was a piercing sound, like a table saw gone wild, as 100 birds made out of shadows swarmed into the rotor. The chopper bucked wildly and the board lit up, telling her what she already knew. They were going down. Barry Wheeler screamed next to her.
Remember, those are not actual birds. Those are darkness birds. Birds created from the darkness that are meant to attack and stop Alan and his friends from every step.
Thomas Zane knew he had to remove all that had made this horror possible, including himself. That was the only way to banish the dark presence he had unleashed and now looked at him through the eyes of his dead love. But he also knew that despite his best efforts, it might someday return. So even as he wrote himself and his work out of existence, he added a loophole as insurance, an exception to the rule. Anything of his stored in a shoebox would remain.
There you go. That's the tragic end of him. And he's still trapped down there too. In the dark presence. Him and Barbara are still trapped down there. And now Alan's down there with him. And just imagine all the other people that have fallen down into that lake. We don't even know about them either.
Making her way through the water pipe alone, Cynthia was angry at the writer. Foolish young man, taking unnecessary risks. And the way he broke the rules. Didn't he understand what was at stake? Since the terrible days in the 70s, she hadn't wavered once, as hard as it had been. She was tired of protecting the town all these long years, and now only wanted to rest.
So she's near the end of her life, and she's frustrated with Alan because he's breaking the rules of trying to get to the well-lit room faster. And she was frustrated because she's been following all of Thomas Zane's little rituals to the T, sacrificed her whole life to protect as many people as she could in Bright Falls from getting consumed by the lake. And, I don't know if she actually knew it was coming from the lake, but she knew that there was darkness in the area. Because I'm pretty sure if she knew that there was a lake that was evil, she'd probably have warned the town long ago. But then again, the town always heard about stories. They turned the folklore stories of Barbara Jagger into like the witch. So they kind of knew there was weird shit happening in the town, but nobody could explain what was actually happening.
The Poet and the Muse, lyrics by Old Gods of Asgard, the chorus. And now to see your love set free, you will need the witch's cabin key. Find the Lady of the Light, gone mad with the night. Find the Lady of the Light, still raving in the night. That's how you reshape destiny.
So these are the lyrics from the Poets of the Fall / Old Gods of Asgard, the Anderson brothers. It's called The Poet and the Muse. Pretty much this Poet is Zane and the Muse is Barbara Jagger. So it's saying, and now you will see your love set free. Pretty much saying Alan will see Alice set free. you'll need the witch's cabin's key. Witch's cabin's key is way back to the cabin. Which is the key, I guess, is the clicker. And find the Lady of the Light, which is Cynthia Weaver, gone mad with the night, because, she's crazy about the darkness. And find the Lady of the Light, which is Cynthia Weaver. She's raving in the night. She talks about how scary the night is. And that's how you reshape your destiny, which is pretty much how you could change the story and set free Alice. So it's crazy that the old gods of Asgard wrote this song, I guess in the 70s, for Alan to use as a guide in the future, present. The next two are Children of the Elder God lyrics, which is pretty much describing, I guess, the old gods of Asgard, the Anderson brothers, their power with the lake.
Children of the Elder God lyrics by Old Gods of Asgard. The first verse and chorus. Warriors, torchbearers, come redeem our dreams. Shine a light upon this night of otherworldly fiends. Odin's might be your guide. Divorce you from the sane. Hammer's way will have its say. Rise up in their name. O memory and thought, jet black and clawed. Children of the Elder God, scourge of light upon the dark.
Just talking about all the people who have been touched by the darkness and who bear the light now, like the Cynthia Weaver, like Alan, like Thomas Zane, and it's talking to, and I guess the Anderson brothers too, because they came out from the darkness as well. And it's saying that they have powers now. They're children of the Elder God, and they have the power of the light, and to take up their fist and rise against darkness. These are all songs they wrote years ago. Here's the second verse of the lyrics.
Children of the Elder God lyrics by Old Gods of Asgard. The second verse and chorus. Scratching hag, you can rake your claws and gnash your crooked teeth. You've taken slaves like ocean waves, now feel the ocean seethe. Father Tor bless the war between the dark and light. In their songs let their wrongs bring disillusion's night. O memory and thought, jet black and clawed, children of the Elder God, scourge of light upon the dark.
So pretty much they're talking about Barbara Jagger and the entity that is her now. That you could take your claws and your teeth and all that and be gone with them, because you've taken people like slaves to the ocean waves. So they knew, old gods of Asgard knew that the lake was not a lake, it's actually an ocean of darkness. And they're pretty much saying that all the people that have been touched by the light now can take up their powers to fight against darkness. Okay, and the final episode, here we go, it's a short one.
The Dark Presence was no longer trying to capture the writer so he could create the ending it wanted. The writer knew too much. He was too strong. And he carried a weapon left behind by Thomas Zane, something that could hurt it. Now, the darkness was doing everything in its power to simply stop the writer from ever reaching Cauldron Lake and the dark place it came from.
So here the darkness now is scared of Alan because it knows it has the clicker and it knows it can hurt it. This entity knows it could be hurt by Alan now with the clicker. So now it doesn't even want Alan to come back to the lake. It's doing everything it's in its powers to keep Alan away from the lake now. It's like, fine, you have that, you know too much, you got the clicker, get away. We'll keep your Alice, and we'll wait for some other creative person to come along, no matter how long it takes. But just get away from us. So the darkness is trying every which way to kill Alan and stop him from getting back to the lake and defeating it.
The bottom of Cauldron Lake was a graveyard of things the lake had claimed in one way or another over the decades. The Dark Presence brought them up in its wake, scattering the rotten waterlogged hull of an old boat here, the remains of a long-ago crashed airplane there, trees shattered under the impacts. The earth groaned. It didn't even notice.
So here the darkness is throwing everything it can at Alan. From pulling out old boats that it took down from airplanes, so all this, stuff that got sunk down to that lake, it's just throwing everything out into the sky and trying to crush Alan to stop it from getting near it.
Zane cut its heart out, but it didn't die. The thing that wore Barbara's face kept crooning sweet nothings sugar-laced with poison. He put on the suit, untied the monster from the chair. The thing in his arms thrashed weakly, but he held fast. He stepped outside, off the pier, and into the dark water, a sinking pinprick of light descending toward a bottom that never came.
So here, this is back then when Zane was trying to stop this entity from escaping through his poems, and he decided to cut out the heart, and then he discovered that cutting out the heart did nothing. So he knew the only thing he could do was write himself out of existence, put on his diver's suit, and jump into the lake and take the entity with him down to the depths below. He sacrificed himself with an contingency plan. And that's why you see him in the diver suit floating around trying to help Alan. Because I think in the game, in the beginning of the game, you see pictures of the diver suit and posters. Because he used to be a diver, I guess.
The dark place I found myself in was unlike anything I could ever have imagined. It wasn't solid. It flowed. It was conceptual and subjective. For someone else, an artist in another field, it would have been very different. I could sense the story of the manuscript all around me, the words and ideas floating in the air, poised to become real.
So he's seeing all the words that he typed around him as it becomes real, like they're giant little words floating around his head, and he's seeing them inside this darkness as they come alive. He's remembering all the stuff that happened to him down there when he was writing that whole week, and now he's seeing it again as he goes down there to finish off the story.
After Zane had gone, I stood alone in the shifting dream that was the dark place. I had to find a way to the cabin. I'd written myself a way through this place in the manuscript. I followed the idea of a path. I'd written myself across the ocean that blocked my way, and with that, there was a bridge to the island beyond. The idea of the cabin flickered in the underwater darkness. I willed the cabin to be real, and it was.
So here he's describing before he even got to Cauldron Lake in Bright Falls, that dream he had was put into his head by Zane, because Zane had wrote that dream, probably a possible poem, to grab the next hero to help, which was Alan. And then he's also talking about how he wrote himself out of the lake, but now he has to go back to the lake because in all his might, he just wants to run away and let the cops deal with everything, but he knows that they'll never find Alice. It has to be him to find those manuscript pages and remember the story to get back down there. Here's more lyrics. Did I read this
After
already?
Zane had gone,
Yeah, I did. So here's the next one.
The Poet and the Muse, lyrics by Old Gods of Asgard. The first verse. There's an old tale wrought with mystery of Tom the poet and his muse, and a magic lake which gave a life to the words the poet used. Now the muse she was his happiness, and he rhymed about her grace, and told her stories of treasures deep beneath the blackened waves, till in the stillness of one dawn, still in its misty crown, the muse she went down to the lake, and in the waves she drowned.
It's talking the story about how Barbara Jagger got taken by the water.
The Poet and the Muse, lyrics by Old Gods of Asgard, the second verse. The poet came down to the lake to call out to his dear. When there was no answer, he was overcome with fear. He searched in vain for his treasure lost, and too soon the night would fall. Only his own echo would wail back at his call. And when he swore to bring back his love by stories he'd create, nightmares shifted in their sleep in the darkness of the lake.
It's talking about the story of how he tried to get out, and every failed attempt he did was making more creatures.
The Poet and the Muse, lyrics by Old Gods of Asgard, the third verse. In the dead of night she came to him with darkness in her eyes, wearing a mourning gown, sweet words as her disguise. He took her in without a word, for he saw his grave mistake, and vowed them both to silence deep beneath the lake. Now, if it's real or just a dream, one mystery remains, for it is said on moonless nights they may still haunt this place.
So that's why the folklore continues of the witch in the town of Bright Falls and area because they know that there's something haunting the woods, and it's the lake, and it's Barbara Jagger trying to escape. Well, the entity of Barbara Jagger trying to escape.
In the end, Barry wasn't going to shoot Sarah. They both knew that. Once she had no chance of catching up to Wake, Barry gave up the gun and sat down on the floor, shielding his face from the merciless glare of the well-lit room. "I don't think I'm ever going to see him again," he said in a weak voice. Sarah didn't have it in her to be mad at him. Besides, he was probably right.
Now, he was right because he in a sense knew that Alan was going to sacrifice himself one way or another to save Alice. And the final one is Zane's poem.
I'd first heard the poem in a dream, recited by a strange UFO-like light. I'd read it again in the cabin in a book by Thomas Zane. For he did not know that beyond the lake he called home lies a deeper, darker ocean green, where waves are both wilder and more serene. To its ports I've been. To its ports I've been.
This is the first thing that happens in the game in the dream when Zane tells Alan about what he knows. He's pretty much knowledge dumping on him in a poem-like way, and it can be deciphered many ways, but pretty much what he's saying is he knows the lake is deeper and like an ocean. So he's pretty much telling Alan at the very beginning, this lake you're going to come across is not going to be a lake, it's going to be an ocean. To its ports I've been, to its depths of, how it shapes reality and all that. I've been there, I'm still in there. But the best part about this whole poem is where he says, where waves are both wilder and more serene. That will be a little nod to a future game. And that's so cool when you think about it. So both wilder and more serene, which is going to be awesome. And it'll kind of make more sense in that game what he meant by that. But anyways, those are all of the manuscript pages. If you stuck around for all that mumbo jumbo, that was just me trying to help explain the story a little better. There is 2 DLCs I'm gonna play. So I will do that as well. And which I don't even know where they are. Oh, they're right here. So I will play those, The Signal and The Rider. There are DLCs that come after the story, so stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching all this mumbo jumbo.